Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
All right, welcome back to the show, and we have a great guest for you today. We've got Mr. Thomas Mayhew with us, and man, has he got some very interesting things to share with us. Some great stuff. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you, TC. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Let's just get right into this, Thomas. Tell us exactly a little bit about your background and what is it that you do and who do you help and who do you work with?
Sure. So I have a real strong background in technology. I actually have an engineering degree and went to work basically into applications engineering straight out of university, and got to travel around the world a little bit, kind of doing several things, doing a little bit of sales and marketing, doing the applications engineering stuff, of course. I was working with high precision GPS equipment, and got to work with, PhDs doing various kinds of experiments in the atmosphere and all sorts of different applications like tectonophysics and other big words that are kind of fun to wrap your mind around and kind of look at the details of what some of those applications are sometimes. But so I really had a good time doing that, sales, marketing, business development, and learning anything and everything about GPS. And then about 9 years ago, I made a switch, and that's when I got into real estate. So. It's interesting how sometimes when you make a career switch like that, you wonder how much stuff's kind of pulled over. Am I going to be starting from scratch, or is there some benefit somewhere to some of this past experience I've had? And of course, I think it's probably true for everybody that's gone through that. There's definitely things you bring to the table that comes straight across, like the customer service skills, the sales and marketing skills, perhaps organization if that's one of your gifts, and so on and so forth. And so I did bring quite a bit, with me, but then there's a whole new skill set that, of course, I had to pick up.
Fantastic. So you transitioned into the real estate sector, is that correct?
That's correct, yes. So I've been doing real estate now for about 9 years, and I picked up a builder along the way. It's a really good builder. We're building, a good number of homes now, and it looks like we're going to, increase what we're doing by probably 20 or 25% again this year. And we're looking to go into new neighborhoods and also bring a new product line to the Tri-Cities. So we're kind of excited about that.
So what is the area of real estate that you think you specialize in? I mean, where's your lane in the real estate sector?
Good question. I mean, I do a good deal of resale because, it's even if you focus on new construction like I do, oftentimes people come to me, they want to build a new house, and they've got a house to sell. So of course, I got to, I got a good machine in place, I guess you could put it that way, for selling those resale homes so those folks can go on to get into their new construction homes, their dream homes that they're wanting to build. And so I've got an amazing infrastructure at this point of both what I've built out and also who I have joined in terms of the franchise and what they bring to the table, especially in this particular one in our Tri-Cities market. And in my case, I linked up with Century 21 Tri-Cities a few years ago, and that has been just outstanding for me because they do a number of things for me that, frankly, they're things that I don't have to touch everything. They've got a great system. I've got a transaction coordinator, a listing coordinator, escrow coordinator. I've got a marketing company inside of Century 21. So when literally, I don't even have to say anything. I turn in the paperwork, and a bunch of things happen for me. And those are things that I don't have to do. So I have a little bit more time then, of course, to talk with customers, do the rainmaking, build a business, and enjoy the process.
You had mentioned earlier in the interview that you had come out of the technology sector. How do you feel that that has been an advantage in your real estate career and what you bring to the table for your clients?
So that's an interesting question. I was in GPS, but of course, anybody that's in any form of technology, you're kind of exposed to a lot of different technologies. And in fact, my last job that I had doing GPS was not in the high precision GPS, but it was more in the consumer products, some precision GPS as well. And there, I was actually responsible for the core software platform, which in my case, I had to look at all the different new technologies that were coming out, and then make sure that core software had the hooks in it to bring in and out the data as needed for the various applications. So I had a very forward-looking vantage point in that company, looking at not just GPS, but at pretty much anything and everything out there that could interface with GPS. I mean, even things like, like the ODM, I think it's called, if I remember correctly, it's been a while now, but basically the computer in cars, we were looking at hooking that up to the GPS and be able to bring information forward to a user in the car, and so there's some interesting applications potentially there. So all kinds of applications and all kinds of technologies that we'd point. So when I came over to real estate, of course, I'm probably the guy that looks at the shiny nickel on steroids. You know what I mean? I mean, and this happens to realtors. Somebody says, "Oh, look at this neat thing." And so they go investigate that. They spend their money, and then maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. If it works, you keep it. If it doesn't, well, you cry about it a little bit and you move on. So I have definitely been that guy, and then some. And so by this point, I've really figured out a lot of things that actually work, and they have a good return. So that's what I've been focusing on the last few years, and it's made all the difference.
Well, that is fantastic, Tom, and it leads me really into my next question beautifully, and that is, what area of the business are you most passionate about, and why?
I'd have to say it's actually lead generation. I for folks that aren't in real estate, of course, they probably have an impression of what it's like. I mean, there's some TV programs that, might tend to accentuate one part of it or another. And the reality is there's an awful lot of paperwork in it. And another reality is that before the fifth year, 90% of people that get into real estate get out. And you have to ask yourself, gee, why is that? And I would say the pure and simple answer is it's not as easy as people might think it is. And sometimes I even get somebody that thinks they really for sure know what they're doing and so on and so forth. They want to sell a house by themselves, and I can tell them till I'm blue in the face, listen, I just took a listing, that they were trying to sell for 8 months, couldn't do it. I took it, raised the price, sold the house in 2 days. What more do you need to know? There's a reason why we have an MLS. There's a reason why we cooperate. In my case, in my town, we've got about 700 realtors. And, as many leads as I might have on my own, I mean, think about that multiplier effect. 700 realtors that all have people that know and like and trust them. Of course, I need to leverage that. That's my first number one priority. But after that, then I've really developed my own systems for generating leads. And that's my passion, is really generating those leads and figuring out how to nurture them. Because, in the case of, probably you might have even heard this, 90% of people look online, or at least 90%, right? It's kind of almost goes without saying. It's got to be true. But those are the NAR-based facts, National Association of Realtors. People look online for their real estate now, and there's so many great tools for that. So, how do you tap into them? But when you do, they may be a year away when they first make an inquiry about a property. So, you don't want to be bugging them every week, right? So then you got to figure out what's a good timeline to stay in touch with them so that you're there and you're top of their mind when they are ready and they do see stuff they really want to pull the trigger on. So that's an art and a science. And so I've been really passionate about figuring that aspect out of that whole lead generation, and then, cultivating them so that, I'm the guy that they think of and they feel confident to pull the trigger with when the time comes.
Fantastic. Well, that segues into my next question for you, and I really want to know this. In this real estate market that we're currently in, what do you think are some of the mistakes that people will make when it comes to choosing a realtor or selling their house? What do you think some of the big mistakes that people make are?
Sure. Well, that's a really good question, and I almost bite my tongue in responding because, at one time I was a new realtor, and I did have a lot of things going for me that I did bring to the table. What I did lack to some degree, or maybe a large degree, was all the little nitty-gritty and details of real estate and all the ins and outs of negotiation. And, you'll hear realtors say that no two deals are alike, and that is absolutely true. But after you go through some number of deals, at some point you kind of get a rhythm, and at some point not much surprises you, and you kind of have a handle for how do we deal with this particular problem with this particular person, or personality, maybe we should say. So that's I would have to say that I'm still stumbling a little bit because I don't really want to say what I got to say. You got to be a little bit careful about picking. You got to be a little bit careful about picking somebody that's brand new in the business, and that's a tough spot because I really like to give those people a fair shake because frankly I was one too at one time, and there are some good people that are in the business. They're brand new, and they're maybe green behind the ears or wet behind the ears, but they know a thing or two, but maybe if they work close with their broker, things will come out fine. But that would be one thing, is to make sure that they're honest, of course, and they're passionate about helping you out, and they're willing to go seek help if they get something that's a little bit beyond them. I mean, that'd be a fair question to ask somebody. How long have you been in the business? 3 years. So what do you do when you get in trouble? Oh, I go talk to my designated broker. Okay, good. That's a good answer. I'm comfortable with that answer. And then beyond that, you might ask some questions. How many deals do you do? How many deals did you do last week? I've got a colleague that's asked me, well, what did you sell today? Well, goodness gracious. You see, when I was first in the business, I'd think today, I was just hoping to sell something this week, but now, when he asks that question, I tell him, well, either this or that, or we did this, we did that, It may not necessarily always be a sale every day, but it's getting close.
Well, Tom, I think you bring up some interesting points because when somebody's looking to sell a house, just because somebody is new in the business doesn't disqualify them from the process. Maybe they bring more energy, and more might be more passionate than somebody that's more accomplished. Yet in some transactions, I think experience matters, don't you?
I do think it matters. I do. It's amazing how sometimes the things that I used to panic about when I was first in business, because I really got a heart to please people. I really want to make things come out good for my clients. I want them to be happy at the end of the deal. And of course, talk me up, because that's the type of business I'm in. It's really important. It's more than that for me, though. Like, I really do want them to be happy. I don't want them to just talk me up. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, I think it's very, very important that they have passion and, but that they also, have a real problem solving mentality and some kind of a background. Perhaps it's good for some folks to just go straight into real estate, when they're young. And by the time they're in their mid-20s, probably at that point, they're fairly well seasoned. And if they made it that long, well, they must have some skill. They really must, because it's not an easy business. And, and if they've done that, then they've probably been through a lot of different training, because there are some great trainers out there. And I've sat under a number of them, and I've learned something from every one of them. And that's been also super helpful for me too, TC. And that's something that for a young realtor that, boy, they really need to get underneath somebody somehow, some way, and get that knowledge and experience, and so that they can bring that to the table, sooner rather than later. Because, school of hard knocks is okay, but it's not so okay for your client that's having to experience it, right?
Sure. Sure. Well, let me ask you this, Tom. What leadership qualities and leaders do you most admire, and why?
So passion and excitement are certainly helpful because, I mean, if somebody's passionate and excited, they're going to keep my attention. So that's probably kind of number one, or kind of a basis or a foundation. But maybe it's not the only foundation because, of course, for me, I really resonate with people that are honest, that are straightforward, that will tell me the truth. And, hopefully they can be tactful about it. But in the end of the day, they need to tell me the truth. And if I'm somebody that's using a realtor, I need to be told the truth. And I worked under a gentleman who was a designated broker for a while, and one of the things that he would say is, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. And in real estate, that's really important because, the seller might want $400,000 for his house, but if the market's only going to bear $350, where's the benefit in me telling him, sure, let's list your home at $400? There's no benefit in that. We're just going to waste time, spin our wheels. The seller's going to be upset at the end, and the realtor that does that's not going to get a sale probably in the end. So that just doesn't work. You got to. It's all about time too, right? So everything's time sensitive in real estate. You got to know what the market's doing. You got to know the direction it's headed. You got to be able to, kind of intersect those two. That price point you put on that listing with what's happening in the market to make it happen. So I think that you got to have integrity. So for me, that's really important. And like the trainers that I look to, that they've got that, they've got a good experience base to draw from. And then it doesn't help if they've got some poetic ways of putting things, because sometimes that helps you remember stuff, right?
Gotcha. Well, Tom, let me ask you this. What's been a key element of your success? You've had quite a bit of success here in the marketplace. What do you attribute that to?
Well, stick-to-itiveness is one thing, because the first several years in business were tough. I went to work with a more of a discount broker just because I thought, well, let me just try that, see how that works. And very quickly I realized I am a full-service person, so there's no way that model is going to work for me. And it didn't look like it worked very well for other people that used it either, from my vantage point. So I switched over to one of the big brands and continued my operating full service. So in the military, we had a saying. I was in the Navy, and one of the sayings we had in boot camp was "up to and touching, sir." And what that meant was, the bar or the scale was like basically from 0 to 4, 4 being the top. So when we said up to and touching, that meant we're at that 4 mark. We're there, sir. And so that's what I try to do when I serve my clients is bring that up to and touching, and for me, I get a lot of satisfaction from that, and I think the results are speaking for themselves. And in fact, I just got another the quality surveys back. I did get a quality service award this year, and I think it's because I got that passionate commitment to keep that foremost. It's okay to have, get awards for numbers of deals, which I did get one of those awards too, but to keep everybody happy. And so that, when they respond to a survey, it comes from a third party, it becomes clear that, yeah, I did do a good job for them. And that makes me the most happy.
Got it. Well, Tom, I know you're incredibly busy, and I appreciate you taking the time out for the interview, but I want to know what are some of the projects that you're currently working on, and what are you most excited about, and why?
Well, let's see. We've got in our area, it's growing quite substantially, and it's the strangest thing, TC, and for the folks that are listening, it is very strange to look somebody in the eye and tell them we have a shortage of land in Tri-Cities, because you drive through this place and you look around and all you see is vacant land, farmland, and, there's land. But the reality is it doesn't have utilities, so it doesn't have, there's no services there. And the farmers that have the land, they're not so interested in selling at a price that would make it feasible to develop. So the reality is, we have experienced substantial price increases on land, value, increases in land. It used to be a year ago, we would say, well, land prices have doubled in the last 10 years. Well, they kind of sped up from there. So whereas we used to be able to find lots for, a few years ago, $60,000, now we're looking at, $85,000, for a nice half-acre lot and still need septic, relatively flat, and that's substantial for our area. That's a big change. So I have been working very hard on getting land that we can develop and that's affordable to develop. I've got, we're working on some in Benton City, which is a kind of considered a little bit out there for us. It's about, 20 minutes from the center of Tri-Cities. There's a place called Badger Mountain South, which is a very unique development. And it's got a country mercantile there, kind of really pretty smelly. Boy, you see when you walk in that place and you smell that aroma, boy, I'm telling you what, you're ready to order something quick. It smells so good. And it's just a really unique community. It's geothermal. So we're looking at doing some exciting stuff in there. We're looking at doing kind of a cutting edge product line that really we're not really seeing what it is at this point, but we're working quite hard on that. So that's something that's coming up there. Very unique community, a lot of walking when it's all developed out. A lot of walking areas. It's really neat. Badger Mountain's a pretty neat spot. And we think there's going to be a lot of growth there. Also working on some dirt out in North Pasco, and which is an area that there's a good number of people that would just absolutely love to live out there. And currently they're just renting because that's what they're going to do until they can buy a place out there. So we got multiple places that we're looking at dirt. We got some we're looking at in West Richland, so we got that's really where it's at. It's kind of getting those. Getting those developments going where we can just get our product line, and new construction in particular, launched out with those particular floor plans and so on that we think will be perfect for those areas. And that's kind of exciting stuff that we're working on. Of course, I just keep working on all the technology and keep tweaking that down. And in fact, I'm planning on my son likes programming, and so I'm planning on having him probably write me some kind of a special app for real estate. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Fantastic. How do you sleep at night?
Well, I don't always sleep very much, but
yeah, outstanding, man. That's some exciting stuff that you've got on your plate. Let me ask you this. We want to wrap things up here. What are one or two things you'd like to say to a prospective client who may come across this interview with you? What would you want to say to them?
Well, sure. I guess there's a couple of things I could say. I could give kind of a big shout out just to the brokerage on that, for one thing, just because there's so much that they do already. I mean, when I list a house, I know that it's going to go on 300 websites plus, and of course, your Zillow, Trulia, Homes, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, we're going to go in print magazines. We're going to go in the Homes and Land magazine, the Real Estate book, and I'm using a kind of special technology with the Real Estate book, so it just seems to generate more leads even there. That's kind of an add-on thing. Not everybody does that, but I'm doing that. And then the Century 21 website actually is like the number one brokerage website looked at, and when people are searching for homes in Tri-Cities. So right off the bat, you ought to list for Century 21. I mean, just kind of just get something out there for everybody at Century 21 there. I just don't know of any other brokerage that's doing more than mine is for the home seller. And then beyond that, for me, as I alluded to in the beginning, I've got just an amazing number of, I literally have probably a dozen people calling me or contacting me, emailing me, texting me, asking me about houses every day now. So, if you want to get somebody that's got a powerhouse of marketing behind them, systems in place that are actually going to seriously go to work for you when you're trying to sell your house. I've got them. I figured it out. It's taken a long time. It's taken a lot of money. But I'm here. It's kind of like, I feel like I've arrived and I keep looking. So if there's more stuff out there, I'm going to find it because I keep looking. I haven't lost that shiny nickel, it still appeals to me. So I still got to check it out and see if it actually works. But now, because I have figured out the kinds of things that work, I can spot something that does or doesn't work very quickly. So I don't waste a lot of time with stuff that doesn't work.
Outstanding. Well, Tom, let me ask you, how can people reach out and contact you if they wish to?
TC, I've probably got a dozen websites out there, but the easiest way is just to text me, and my phone number is 509-302-7145. That is the
But more time, but you got to say it slow because people need to grab a paper and a pen. So how can they reach you?
509-302-7145.
Fantastic. And you're also on the social media sites as well, LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook, absolutely.
Fantastic. So that number one more time, Tom, just in case.
Sure, it's 509-302-7145.
Fantastic. Well, Tom Mayhew, I want to thank you for, it took forever to get you on the show. I'd love to have you back in the future with some of these developments you've got going on and the app that you're working on. Love to have you back on the show anytime that we can get it scheduled. And appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks, TC. It's always a pleasure.
Fantastic. Well, folks, there you have it, another edition of our show. And I encourage you to reach out and contact Tom if you're in that area, Thomas Mayhew. And we will see you on the next edition of our show. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.